We are approaching June 1st, 2026, coming to you from an area in which a lot of tourists head for camping and spending money and dining. Not too much dancing, no strip clubs. They have some dispensaries, but it's really about nature, even if people really can't articulate it. So I've come back to this park where I've given a lot of speeches, basically, that may be significant later on to look at and listen to, but right now they are on private for the most part. Videos that have been produced since I've been here the last 30 days. But I'm going to continue to narrate because there are certain things that I've learned. You should not leave your stuff out in the forest. It's awesome to camp in the forest. It's very grounding to be in a tent. But because of the drug activity going on here and what I experienced, you gotta grab your stuff and go. Right now, it's 6:22 and I'm here in downtown Salida, Colorado, because I don't want to be hanging out on BLM land. It feels depressing with the people that are up there. It's a destitute vibe. There's a guy who's totally broke, who's totally down on his luck, who is kind of part next to me, and that is the challenging part of being a nomadic traveler philosopher, is being at a level that the people that are screwed up can't be around. The intensity, the intelligence, the stuff that I'm getting into. There's been a number of conversations that I've had in the last days and weeks where it's like, oh my God, this person's of a level of schizophrenia I have not seen in a while. I did not expect that. But looking at things from the speculative arena of spiritual warfare with what I do know about Crestone, and not really trusting some of those energies, not seeing it all as bad, but that which one would call alien, some of that stuff that's going on, may be a part of something more nefarious. You could say that I'm awake right now, that we're in our own matrix here. And there are certain distractions that I had to deal with. So earlier day was a good example of the reinforcement of the matrix system, authoritarianism during Solar Maximum, which I talked to you about actually in the last couple of days or videos. Like, they see I'm podcasting and they're like, whoa, get away from that field. There's a truth frequency over there. That's what's interesting. So I could sit here, set up camp, if you will, for a number of minutes or hours, read books, and basically create a field of energy, maybe even a diamond in geometric shape that has, like something out of, some people have described their auras as having spikes. I'm thinking of the Legion of Doom, But there is something powerful about one's energy field when they're speaking truth, or when certain people are speaking. It creates a certain energy. And so if I'm yelling out that energy, well, that actually can be used for something. Now, it's interesting that we live in a culture where there's a lot of yelling at sports stadiums. There's a lot of yelling with regards to professional wrestling. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of noise down in Deep Ellum, for example. There's a lot of empty noise. There's a lot of empty screaming. But when it's pointed truth, when it's a truth, and it's a truth yelled loudly, they feel that spirituality, and that is what threatens them. That's how they translate it in their mind, do threat analysis. We're going to pause here for some burning of some Palo Santo. I also picked up some Tiger's Eye. Take a deep breath. Are you grounded? Everybody kick off your shoes and stick your bare feet on the concrete. No, this is grounding, and then it's also ungrounding. Like some of the conversations, some of the distractions, that sort of a thing. There was someone that I was talking to that I spoke of fondly before. I refer to him as Terrence McKenna. And I told him what I told you, and he freaked out. And he won't be talking to me again, just because I told him and I didn't start with that. I was asking, where might there be some other places to go and camp, park, that sort of a thing. Got some recommendations. Buena Vista. For day trips, people have mentioned Cannon City. I'm not a big fan of Cannon City. Already been through Durango. There's really nothing fun to do in Alamosa. while there's been an influx of people moving to Colorado, it still lacks a lot of basic things. As far as the people, the meetups, gatherings with people, potlucks, the way things were in the 70s and 80s before cell phones became the dominant networking tool. And so that's what I'm saying. Because of that influence, and it's all around us, certain inevitable outcomes that I want to stop won't be stopped. And I'm fighting an uphill battle because of the reality of what's going on. So I'm rerouting things to, this is Palo Santo. It's just supposed to be like a cleansing type of, and don't get me wrong, it's fun to drink a few beers in the mountains, but also gets old. And I'm starting to crave exercise again, food, the right communication. That was interesting, talking to that person for an hour over there. She was working on her bike, told me a lot about that whole situation, but she's not exactly a person that I can, help out. What I can say is just I'd like the vibe to be higher, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm at the park today, because it's almost too quiet. But my cat is doing great. I chose to not get storage and to keep my stuff with me right now. Things are very quiet. Any day now there's going to be all kinds of tourists here from all over. Already, the energy has changed. So that's interesting. And I'm actually not really doing anything right now to do any self-promotions, but I could. But I'm actually being very, very humble. So yeah, I've set a goal for some new Substacks. A Portland one, a Dallas one, a Colorado one. And it takes time to adjust. As I watch the police drive by slowly, and then drive by slowly again. So what have we learned from today? What have we learned from the whole month as we reach this full moon conclusion? It's not just the pen that is mightier than the sword. It is free speech. Now there's something about the power then of speech and communication. Power of sound frequency. Sound frequency, what's that? Well, it's not just, open up a tab, YouTube, sound frequency, that type of stuff. It isn't just gong bells. Think about like a certain sound frequency that can shatter a thought form, that type of stuff. So it isn't just these chakra bowls, it's certain voices. It is certain voices, and then somebody else that doesn't have a bunch of these, whatever you might want to call it, someone that's just more grounded, they can deal with that same person, that same voice, that same energy. Obviously, I'm talking about me, and there'll be no problem whatsoever. They'll even say that. There's no problem with what you're saying. And there'll be a pattern here, folks, with people that are basically overtaken by that authoritarianism. So in recent days, what have we seen, even with local stuff? Sex crimes, an attack, an assault. And then we saw an increase in drinking locally with the geometric storms, and then hearing a little bit about it from someone who works at the Loaf and Jug. He was talking about people being rude, coming in. So there was a couple other, just domestic incidents and the stuff that I heard. Other drug usage in general. Argumentative behavior. People becoming irritated. And then all the while we're not aware, even though we have all this knowledge, and even myself, I'm busy, the people aren't necessarily aware of the geometric storm in the air. That is the that is the undertone for that aggression and the overreaction to the initial said statement of insult. And that's where it started this morning. I'd like to learn new meditation techniques, and visualization. Some of you have some of that knowledge, but you have schools for that. You teach some of that. And then some of it's the same information. I'd like to embark on a whole new adventure where I am doing meditation techniques and maybe even engaged in leadership. If someone says you can't do it and they're harming you or they don't have positive intention and they're saying that you can't do something, you should try to do it. Or they say that books aren't worthless or are worthless, when maybe books are worth a lot. And so that's basically what I saw from the person that I was dealing with. It was a big shift, a big 180, where there were certain things that were positive, then all of a sudden the script was flipped and the connection to her was weaponized, folks. I hope you appreciate this video coming to you later on in the evening with appropriate lighting in a appropriate environment that isn't an echo chamber, and I'll pick up on there are periods where people will unsub because the overall environment is just crappy where I'm making my video. I know there are some people watching me from Dallas, they're in the media, that are appreciating, I guess, maybe seeing me get out of that place and then seeing some of the nature behind me so I can perhaps show you more of it in the future, do some podcasts down by the river, and talk more about some of the spiritual perspectives that are out there about using nature, connecting with nature to heal yourself from a number of things. First and foremost, psychological ailments, spiritual sicknesses. Robert Bruce wrote a book about psychic self-defense, and he talks about walking over bridges to kind of clear yourself or protect yourself. Now, on a physical level, as far as distractions go, things have definitely changed in America. I feel like I'm an old person. I still have younger schlucks, but I feel like I'm an old person. Things have definitely changed. Even though there are some people trying to look sexy, trying to. I don't know, maybe just because I'm a soul-filled human, but there's just something, which is good, because there's something very unattractive about whatever they've got going on psychologically, energetically. It's just, they can go ahead and put that ass out there on Front Street, put a big old drawing on it and a big old tattoo and put booty shorts in it. Just no, there's something counterfeit. It doesn't mean there is no hope for some, but I'm not a teacher and I'm not a dad. That's for those that are in that position. I could say I want to, and I want to help, but you know what? I have been helping for 20 years. And people can help others. They can take that same information that I put out there for 20 years. They can make it kid-friendly where they need to. They can use the right animations, and the things that I've talked about for years could be put into children's novels, children's books, so that they understand what's coming. That they have to be more responsible, actually, as we go each generation in. The responsibility is just so compounded, the things that we have to do just to survive. It's a very, very different world. And the world that I came into at 18 in 1998 in Portland, Oregon was also a very, very different world than that of my mom, my dad's, the amen of those that came before me in the 70s and 80s. So I think that this would be a great place to do some meetups, to do some Qigong exercises. And then down by the river, feet in the river. So this is going to go out on the new YouTube channel, and also share it with the people that follow me over at solarwars.substack.com. This would also be a good place for writing and reading. So yeah, I keep coming back to it because I'm thinking there's something more to this place than meets the eye.